Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 or 7 or something of the Burnout Box. I'm Donnie Duffy, president of VMP. This is my lead mechanic, Justin Starkey. How's it going? Justin, how's it going?
Good, it's going good.
Good. What were you working on out in the shop today?
You know, my hands are a little greasy and dirty from, working on stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, what were you working on today, President?
I had a lot of important meetings. I drank a lot of Starbucks. I had my secretary bring me pizza for lunch. It was a good time. Really, I got a lot done.
I thought you got the pizza.
I did. That's my secretary.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, we'll get started here in a minute. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We're going to reference a bunch of things that we've talked about over the past couple episodes, so make sure you're going back watching those, subscribing so you see all the ones coming up. So, speaking of things we worked on, Justin, what did we end up doing after the show ended last week?
Well, we weren't kidding. Last week, we'll just start off there with last week. We went out to the dyno, out under the covered area, and started playing with Track Attack in the dark. And that sounds weirder than it really was. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, wasn't that weird? Yeah, we seriously, we kind of joked on screen. We didn't pre-plan that. And like, yeah, maybe we'll go play with it after this. And then as we looked at the weather and was like, you know what, it is fairly nice out. I'm not tired, you're not tired. Hey, let's go play. And yeah, we were out there till probably 8 at night having fun.
Yeah, we eked out a few more horsepower. Worked on some belt stuff, some pulley stuff, some tune stuff.
Yeah, my headlights really are bright.
Yeah, very, very.
Oh man, you got the nice backfire in there.
That car, when you're pulling it on the dyno, it has so much power. It doesn't feel as stressful as you would think it would because it's just over like that. And I mean, it's a 4 or 5 second dyno pull. I think maybe that's why it lives at 1,000 horsepower.
It's just because we're not leaving it to those conditions for long term.
No, it just drives right through it.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of times when people do blow their stuff up or whatever, it's not going through second gear. It's when they're in fifth gear, winding it out, going from 120 to 160 and taking 10 seconds to do it. So it kind of makes sense.
That's basically what we were doing on the dyno, though.
Well, yeah, just with 1,000 horsepower, it gets done really quick.
That's true.
What did it end up making total? What was the number?
Well, there's different viewpoints on the internet. But
I don't care about the internet. I'm asking you.
I say if you're going to go for it, just go for it. 1,020 rear wheel horsepower. You can apply different correction factors. You can apply different smoothing factors, but on that graph in front of us, that is what it spit out.
Okay. So, of course, that car has what done to it to make 1,000?
The list's pretty short.
Okay.
And, I will say, let's start with what's stock.
Okay.
And
I feel like the list of what you've done is much shorter than the list of what's stock.
Yeah. But so stock in our world means we didn't open up the bottom end and change pistons or rods. On Coyotes, it is known that the oil pump gears and especially the cam drive gear on 15 up are weak links. So those parts were upgraded a couple of years ago when we put the blower on. But the rest of it is stock. The heads, the cams, what else? Basically the rotating assembly.
Drive shaft.
Everything that, inside the engine. Let's keep it inside the engine.
Okay, keep it inside the engine bay.
So everything that flows air or handles power like the pistons and rods are all stock. And, we know the 15 up heads are actually Boss heads.
Yeah. As
cast. The cams are 13 millimeter lift on the intake and exhaust, like Boss cams. So, I mean, it's the best engine. It's a much better version of the 5-liter engine than the original 11 to 14s.
Ouch. I have a 14 truck. He's hurting my feelings over here.
So I think those are some of the things that contributed to why it made so much power and lived.
So now we need one of those quick, videos that insert here, before you watch the Jackass movies of, here kids, don't try this at home. So now let's talk about why people at home shouldn't go and try to slap our blower on and put 1,000 to the wheels.
On a stock engine.
On a stock engine, yeah. By all means, you want to put our blower on and try to make horsepower, go for it.
And a stock fuel system with a voltage booster.
Oh yeah, that is it. And then what size injectors are in there?
ID 1000s.
Okay.
They're not even the 1050s.
Yeah.
No.
Not return style.
No.
No, it's stock setup.
Now, it is C16 fuel, which is very dense. It's not like ethanol where you need a much bigger fuel system. It's 14.8 stoic point. So that works to our favor in that situation.
So why shouldn't average Joe at home be trying to make 1,000 rear wheel with his stock Coyote?
You know, I mean, we did it for several dyno pulls. I mean, how many dyno pulls did we rack up?
I think I did count because I wanted to know, and I verified with Joe. I think it was 7 or 8. I gotta make sure, but with Gen 3 beating on it,
it
was 7 or 8.
Horsepower.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's not something to try at home. You know, first of all, if you're going to be ripping through gears, fuel sloshing around in the tank and stuff like that, you need a good fuel system. We were in a static environment, 5 seconds at watt. The fuel tank, the pickup never had an opportunity to come uncovered or suck up any air.
Sure.
And if you're going to try this at all on stock engines, you need a baller fuel system, to use one of those words Alex uses all the time.
Baller, yeah.
And you know, then, I mean, that being said, I tell you to run it till it gives up the ghost. But it's probably going to give up the ghost at 1,000 minutes.
I was going to say, honestly, I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I kept.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, you ought to get in it and make a dyno pull, because it just happens so quick. You don't have time to worry about it.
that's very reassuring. Hey, just go ahead and do this because it's over so quick. You never worry.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what is a long time to be at watt. The Texas mile.
Oh yeah.
They've got markers at each quarter-mile increment. So quarter-mile, half-mile, three-quarter-mile, and then 1 mile. You shift up into 6th gear by the half-mile, and you have to consciously remember to keep your foot to the floor, or you just don't know what to do. As a drag racer, you don't know what to do at the Texas mile. And that is where I would worry about shit blowing up. Yeah,
because you're just holding it. It's barely creeping through the...
Yeah, and the RPMs really aren't gaining much.
Yeah,
either.
exactly. That's what hurts motors.
So, we got some questions, statements rolling in already.
You have a couple on...
JP says, we rock. I agree with you, JP. So Justin, since you're a tuner, can you guys tune a Coyote swap with the Gen 3 on the control pack, or how would you tune the control pack?
Tuning the control pack's no problem. We do it all the time.
In fact, didn't we do like a sweet rock bouncer that had like a Coyote swap and a control pack in it?
Oh man, we've done all kinds of stuff. Airboats.
Airboats? That'd be
yeah,
sweet.
the rock crawler bouncer thing. We're doing an old pickup right now. An old Falcon that's like flat black. That was at SEMA.
Oh, okay, I remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember him coming over talking to us about that. All right, that's it for questions.
Hey, Luke, I do like the idea of some real pizza, but next time.
Firebird Vet on YouTube says, must be nice being able to do late night dyno pulls at the new shop. Thumbs up.
I'm sure the neighbors love it just as much as you do. In fact, I have a friend that lives about a quarter of the mile down the road down 415, and he texted me and he was like, are you guys playing on the dyno? And you know, this is about 7:45 at night.
Did he text you that somebody's on your dyno?
Or yeah, that's what it was. He was like, I think somebody's at your shop on the dyno. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. He was like, I thought it was a Harley going by my house, but then the exact same noise happened again. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm inside with the windows closed and the door shut.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't make dyno pulls late at night. We should wait till Friday or Saturday night.
We only did 3, and it was before 8 o'clock.
We did 2.
Did we do 2?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. We only did 2.
If it's a Friday or Saturday night, the circle track down the street is running roundy round with what? Open header small blocks?
Yeah, whatever they got.
They sound better than crotch rockets. We'll say that.
As an owner of 2 crotch rockets, I don't know how to proceed with this conversation. I mean, all right. Well, let's just continue on. John says, okay. Oh, you're touching on YouTube. Keep going, Carrie.
This is an off-topic question. It says, what year model F150 do you guys suggest for a daily that he might upgrade later on?
2015 and up.
I bought a 14 and I regret it. Oh, I love my truck. Don't get me wrong. Love my truck, but I wish I was that 600 pounds lighter, and I wish I had that little bit more stout Coyote in it.
The 15 makes a lot more power, both naturally aspirated and with a blower.
And don't they have a little bit stronger internals? Different internals?
You know, we don't really know for sure, but the assumption is that everything gets better with time, and the Coyote is getting a lot better with time.
It's better with time. I'm going to be pretty good by the time I hit 30.
Oh,
Jeremy says, coming in late, will you be making a larger pulley for the 11 to 14 blocks with only OPG and CS? I currently am limited to 91 driving cross country from Texas to California.
How big should we make the pulley, Donnie?
It's
The size of your head.
for Gen 3, we might have to.
I did commission some pulley designs that are pretty big. I actually decided to make 2 of them, and we're going to sort out which ones are best.
Okay.
So, yes, we will have an answer for you.
Slab Shack, who he tunes into all of our shows, literally, says that our dynograph, we need to change the torque line in the logo.
That's funny. That's a good idea.
All right.
This is a funny story about that dynograph.
What's that?
Like me and Brett were looking for a logo back in 2006.
Oh,
and,
yeah?
just sketched some stuff in Photoshop, and it looked like a dynograph. So we're like, all right, that's the logo.
It. And it still looks good.
Right there.
Wild Soul says, will you guys ever offer financing for any of the superchargers?
Oh, that's something we've considered doing. There's a lot of places that do that sell our superchargers. American Muscle sells our superchargers and offers financing. And you can get some financing through your PayPal account.
Matt says, what do you recommend running pulley-wise, size-wise, for Gen 3 on an 11 GT500 on E85?
So we know the numbers with a built motor, a 5.8, 10% lower. We know the boost numbers with different upper pulleys. On the 2011 with a 5.4 and a stock lower, you're probably going to want to run a 2.4 and make as much power as you can because you've got E85 and there's not really any octane limitation. But it's going to be somewhere in the 2.8 to 2.5 range, I'd say, for the average person, and it's going to make a ton of power.
And with that
All
said,
right.
if you want to go over to Facebook.
I will. Oliver wants to know, what is the best rear gear for 8th mile?
What transmission are you running, Oliver?
Yeah, I was going to say we need tire size,
Yeah.
what transmission, final drive ratio, all that fun stuff.
So let's go back up and make sure we don't miss any, Donnie.
I don't think I have any.
Oh, those are all just statement.
John says, okay, let's talk about the GT500 dyno results.
Yeah, we're getting there, John. Calm down.
Dorian wants to know what Gen 3 cars are going to be running at Bradenton.
Rebecca's car and Alex's car will both be running.
Andrew?
Andrew says, will Track Attack car make any passes or dyno runs only? You've taken it down the track. I've seen Alex take it down the track.
I think he wants to know with the Gen 3 after the story just came out.
Can we, Andrew, you got a built 6R80. Can we borrow it? Because I don't think the MT82 is going to live at that much horsepower going down a track.
Luke wants to know, will we be in Joliet in 2019? Of course, that's your call, but I don't think we've had conversations anywhere near that far out yet.
Yeah, I would kind of make the event schedule around November, December of the preceding year, so we'll know more later in this year.
On YouTube, Jeremy says he's ready to buy as soon as you make a package for the 11 to 14. Thank you for your answer.
Jeremy, post what kind of package you're looking for, because that's one of the things that we kind of struggle with. So you want a Gen 3, but you want a really big pulley to keep the horsepower down. So our kits try to catch as many people as possible, the most common requested setups. So we'd like your feedback on that.
Lewis says, which long tube headers do you guys recommend, Cooks or American Racing, for an NA14 Coyote?
I would say Kooks or Dynatech. We use a lot of those around here.
Yeah. Roberto, hello from South Texas. Hello, I won't be in South Texas, but I'll see you in Texas soon enough for Texas 2K. Ben says, just installed long tube headers. Do I need to data log and send it in to fine tune it? Well, Mr. Tuner, does he?
Ben, the adjustments for long tubes from a tuning and engine running right perspective are very, very minor. There's a lot of talk about long tubes making you leaner and stuff like that. They don't really do that. It's the transport delay changes because the O2 sensor is farther away from the engine. That's the biggest change. And of course the power output goes up, but because flow goes up, but on a mass air-based system, like all these late model Fords, that's not an issue. That corrects for itself. So you can send us a data log. We can review it. There's a good chance there will be no changes required or only very minor changes for that transport delay.
Okay, Mr. Cook here says, are we going to Sturgis this year?
Well, Mr. Cook, we do not have Sturgis planned this year.
Had fun there last year.
We are going to be at Shelby Fest the first weekend in May. So that will be the closest we'll get to that area.
You just want to touch on that real quick for all these guys that are asking where we'll be when. What do we have? I think I have an understanding. What do we have solidly on the calendar? I know my next thing I ship out to is Texas 2K. We start rolling out there.
We're kind of working things a little bit differently this year. We're not doing the dyno at any of the NMRA races this year. So we are doing the dyno at some really big shows and events. So if you want to get tuned by VMP or have parts installed and then go right on the dyno and have us fine tune it, you're going to want to get on the VMP dyno at Ponies in the Smokies, Shelby Fest, or Carlisle. And those will be the three big shows with the VMP Mobile Dyno Jet present. Tuning for existing customers, tuning for new customers. We are going to a lot of other events and just racing. We'll just be racing this weekend at NMRA Bradenton. Then we'll be racing at Texas 2K 2 weeks later. Then we got the Ponies in the Smokies show a week later. And we've got some other events sprinkled out through the summer. We got the American Muscle Show, which is way earlier in the year this year.
I didn't get to go last year. I think I did an event right before it and then an event right after it, so I skipped American Muscle.
Yeah, American Muscle Show is kind of crazy. It's
okay.
2 weeks after Carlisle. It's in the middle of June. It's at the beautiful Maple Grove Raceway. We'll be there running the drag races again, and it's a good time.
Okay.
And hopefully it won't be extremely hot or rainy, because I think that's why they got away from August.
I was going to say, is Maple Grove, is that Bowling Green?
That's where they have the third NMRA race of the year.
Oh, okay.
And they have it in May, first weekend of May, same weekend as Shelby Fest. And it's rained the last 2 years.
Okay, so we'll be in Shelby Fest.
Yeah.
On YouTube, real quick, Matt wants to know, have we put a Gen 3 on a 2018 yet? How is the 2018 fuel system? How much power can it handle?
So we're playing with 2018 stuff. We're playing with the fuel system. 2018 is a really different animal. The direct injection system limits how much stuff you can put in the valley. So our current supercharger kit does not fit it. We will be working with Roush on a new supercharger kit featuring 2650 rotors that do fit the 2018. However, it's not going to have our VMP Gen3 on it.
All right. I'm going to ask you this question even though I know we don't like giving numbers. Mike wants to know, what kind of numbers can I get out of a 2012 GT500 on Gen 3 VMP blower on 17 pounds of boost with all bolt-ons and exhaust with a full 4 fuel system?
Oh, that sounds like fun. You know, the 2012 is one of the more favorited GT500s.
Yeah.
They're like getting really inexpensive.
Yeah.
They've got a 5.4 aluminum block. They're like light and inexpensive. They respond well to mods. They're low compression, so they're tolerant of 91 or 93 octane. The 2013 14s with the 5.8 and the higher compression ratio are actually really sensitive to the fuel you put in them.
Okay.
Mike, to get more specific with your question, the exhaust is going to help a lot as far as flow. When you get into that 17 pounds of boost range with the GT500, they need all the exhaust flow they can get. We'll be testing some combinations very similar to what you're asking about next week, and I expect some really good numbers.
Next week, what's on the schedule for next week?
That's my black and red 2012 GT500 that I haven't really driven is getting a Gen 3.
Almost like that to lunch today.
Yeah, it's getting a Gen 2R and then it's getting a Gen 3.
Okay, so we'll start playing with that next week and give you. So make sure you guys are liking, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Checking back next week so we can touch on that.
On YouTube, they want to know, will we see any collab with MFP Australia for intake intercooler or crank support options with Gen 3 kits? And prop on all you guys' hard work.
We're definitely working with MFP Australia. They make some awesome stuff. So, you know, we're definitely using their parts, looking at more ways to use their parts and bring them to our customers in America.
They're friends of Alex. They make some baller parts.
That's Matt Coates.
Oh, was
Yes.
that? Yeah. This gentleman that I cannot pronounce his name, and I don't want to butcher it on TV here, says, what would be the best pulley and throttle body setup for the Gen 3 on a 2010 GT500, 10% lower, return style with two 465 pumps, E85 stock block? Looking for the most aggressive setup.
All the boost. I don't know that a stock block can handle all the boost from a Gen 3 though. You know, and that's that's going to be kind of one of the turning points with our new supercharger for the GT500 is that with the older TVS, you could give it everything. That setup would make 750 to 800. We're actually going to have to dial back the Gen 3 a little bit for those stock block GT500s.
Okay.
You know, we'd, just off the top of my head, 2.6 or 2.8 upper pulley if you're running E85 and a 10% lower.
Okay. Brandon wants to know, do we offer flex tuning for boosted applications? I seem to recall Alex mentioning doing it with his own car, but I could be wrong.
So I get the question about flex fuel, and people think if you don't have flex fuel that it's a big deal to mix fuels. It's not a big deal to run your car pretty empty and then fill it up with E85 or vice versa without a flex fuel tune, because there is some compensation built in from the factory. That's how the flex fuel logic works in the first place. But we want a very specific set of parameters in there when we're tuning for a boosted application to get optimum performance safely. So that's why we don't do boosted flex fuel tunes, and we currently don't do boosted NA tunes either. We feel like we can give you a more accurate calibration by having the tune specific to the fuel that's primarily in the tank. But if you mix a little bit of, if you have a little bit of pump gas left in there, a little bit of 93 left in there when you fill up with the 85, it's not a big deal. The stoic point's going to go a little bit higher, but the wide bands are going to correct for it, and it's going to be fine.
I was going to say that's good because on my flex fuel truck, I do not run it completely empty before I fill it up.
Yeah. But you also don't really have, you know, like a crazy performance tune on there that's designed to make as much horsepower as possible, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Joe, I was like, if it blows up, it blows up. I still got another 3 years, 30,000 miles of factory powertrain warranty.
Oh my gosh. Kids these days.
Ken wants to know, speaking of fast F-150s, mine doesn't really fit in that group. He has a 17 F-150 with a Roush blower. What would he have to do to run E85?
Ken, you got to do a bigger ejector. You got to keep the boost low and do some type of fuel pump upgrade, which currently doesn't exist. Some people have swapped in a bigger single pump in place of the factory pump. That helps. It's definitely, you really want to make sure you have enough fuel and on E85, and that's...
You mean going lean on boosted cars is bad?
Yes, Donnie, it is.
All right, Carlos wants to know, he's adding cams on his 1250 limiters or no limiters?
Carlos, if they're comp stage 3s on the intake side, you will make a lot more torque without limiters, and from what we've seen on the engines we've worked on, there is still enough clearance to prevent piston to valve contact. Comp specified limiters because in a worst possible case scenario, the cams, the intake valve could crash into the piston. But in practice, there's enough clearance to get away with it. And I do not like how much torque you lose with limiters, especially on an NA car. You need that torque.
Yeah. Ryan.
The exhaust side, you can put the limiters in because the exhaust side doesn't really affect performance.
Ryan wants to know, why aren't we at Bradenton right now?
We're heading down there tonight.
I was going to say, speaking of our nighttime activities me and Justin do, I spent all day, we got the truck trailer ready to go, and Justin is literally, as soon as this ends, he's hopping in that and rolling out.
Yeah, me and Rebecca and the kids are driving down there tonight, so we'll be getting parked and getting the cars unloaded in the morning.
Sounds fun. Oh, Justin Stevens, here we go. All right, buddy. You have a 2014 Coyote MT82, full exhaust, and a lot of other suspension mods. Planning on buying a Gen 2R this summer and going 85 this fall, along with building a short block. Wanting to run 9s next year. Other than driver mod, what do I have to do with that setup to get there?
I don't know. What did Alex break at Mod Motor Nationals?
The carrier.
A carrier.
But Alex was on a stock motor with 115,000 miles on it, so he wasn't quite pulleying it down and throwing all the power in the world at it that he could have with that blower.
So,
but yes, your stock carrier, of course, would still break either way, regardless of what I just said.
that was the fuse. That was pretty lucky of Alex.
Oh, that was, he got super lucky. He was like, okay, I want to run 9s right now, and he just pulleyed it down and went out there, and he broke the carrier. I told him the second he came back, I was like, out of all the things you could have broke, man, I was like, hey, that's not that big of a deal.
10-1 at like 139?
Yeah. I want to say he ran like a 10.08 or something, or he got a lot. I don't know. We'd have to verify with him, of course, but I think he ran a little faster than the 10.1 even. He got really, really close and just wasn't willing to blow his car up to do it.
Well, Justin Stevens talking about a built engine. Justin, I think you're going to need like a TR6060 swap.
Yeah,
just go 6R80.
Justin Stevens is a truck driver. He wants to shift that thing.
Justin says all driveline will be built as well.
Nice.
I have a few questions, comments over here on YouTube. Vinny says, article from 817, BJ's 07, I guess, mentioned us offering bottom end rebuilt kit. Is that something that we're going to offer to get the most of the Gen 3?
We did Manly pistons and rods. They've got some really nice packages, some different compression ratio options. If you're going to run E85, there's no reason not to run more compression. Those are some parts that we can get for you, and we'll definitely be packaging together.
Ron then says a 2018 F150 5.0 or a 3.5 Ecoboost.
Oh gosh, Ron, you got to get the 5.0.
Yeah, V8.
Firebird Vet says, when can we expect a 14 plus Corvette VMP blower? Because I need a reason to throw my VMP tag bracket back on.
On a Vet?
Oh man.
Call Magnuson, dude.
Yeah, call Magnuson. When we start doing GM stuff eventually, we'll be working with Magnuson on their line of blowers. I mean, they're very, very good at what they do.
For sure. David says, awesome job, guys. Thanks. Does a 3-inch catback exhaust make a big difference on a 13 GT500 with a twin 67 and a 91 octane gas?
Actually tested that on my 07, like way back in 2009. Given the 07 had a 2.5-inch exhaust factory, the 3-inch made no difference.
Headers.
Now, I will say, David, your car has a 2.75-inch exhaust factory. All the 2011 up GT500s are that way. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about sound. With the catback, choose it based on sound.
Gotcha. John says, when the first generation of the VMP Gen 3, when will the first generation of the VMP Gen 3 will be ready to, do you think there will be enough room to redesign Gen 3 version 2 or version 3?
John, what I'll say about the current Gen 3 is it's designed to fit basically everything without any clearance issues and to be able to keep EGR for those emission states. And, you know, if there's more power to be had by designing things differently in the future, we'll certainly look at that. I mean, we've made over 1,000 on multiple platforms now with Gen 3. We're not going to stop.
No. Ken is asking, would a booster pump work on his 17 Roush who wanted to go E85?
It will help. You'd have to keep the boost low, have big injectors, and really look over the data logs, because E85 on a stock fuel pump it's not necessarily a flow problem, it's a pressure problem. There's a regulator inside there, and it controls the pressure, and it's not adjustable. So actually, if one of you can run over into Joe's office, there's a fuel pump assembly taken apart. It's a white plastic thing.
A white plastic thing.
Einar, who also watches a number of our shows, says, was the reason you did run on C16 but not E85 when you tested the Gen 3 on Track Attack because the car did not have the fuel system to support enough E85? Had the result been the same on E85?
Exactly. Track Attack could have
thank you.
never been run on E85 at that boost level. We had to use C16 on Track Attack because it's a stock fuel system. So, yeah, and previous testing has shown that E85 will make another 40 rear wheel horsepower over C16, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Firebird Vet says, thanks, Justin. Patiently waiting for the collaboration for GM stuff. And then we were also asked, when is the Gen 3R release coming? Ha ha ha.
Let's talk about fuel pumps, because this is coming up. This is a factory fuel pump assembly. We've partially disassembled it here, and this is just something we were messing around with earlier today, me and Joe, so I figured it'd be good fodder for the show since it's coming up. This conglomeration right here is inside your factory fuel tank. This is what's exposed. You've got an outlet right here, and you got an electrical connector. So inside of it is a fuel pump. There's a pickup sock that goes on here, and all in here is where the magic happens, as they say.
Okay.
There's a filter, non-serviceable.
I hate that.
Lifetime fuel filter. And there is this little line right here is either for the jet pump or it's, this is for the jet pump, I think. And the jet pump takes a little bit of the fuel flow off the fuel pump and uses a Venturi effect to siphon fuel from the other saddle, from the passenger side saddle.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
I knew there had to be a way it got fuel from this saddle to that saddle, but no, I did not know it did it that cool.
It's a sad day if you forget to hook up the line from the other side.
And because the fuel fills over there too.
No, it's on the driver's side.
Oh, okay.
But,
so yeah, you just get half a tank out of every tank.
And your fuel gauge tells you you're at half a tank when you're empty, because it averages 2 level cinders.
Nice.
So, but the other thing I really want to show, that we're talking about the flow versus pressure conundrum. A fuel pump booster increases flow, but it does not increase pressure. It looks like the bottom of this fuel filter assembly has a little blow-off type valve here, and this is going to be your regulator, and it's fixed at around 55 psi.
Ugh.
There's no vacuum or boost reference. That's all done electronically, and as regulators go, there's something called regulator droop. The regulator pressure is set across a fixed flow range. As flow changes, your regulation is not going to be consistent unless you use a 2-stage regulator. So this is what you're relying on to fuel your car. It works up to a point.
Yep. Real quick on Facebook, Ryan said, awesome, see you guys there. I guess he's asking why we weren't in Bradenton already. Can't wait for the 2650 for your 03 Cobra. I promise you, you're one of many. Gary, what did Rebecca name her new car?
She named her car Lilith.
Lilith. Okay, that's different. Jason, 2012 versus 2013 GT500 for safe big power. I think you kind of were touching on that a little bit.
Safe big power. What fuel are you going to run?
All right, we'll get back to you. Make sure you drop that comment. Dorian, what are the projected limits on, I guess that's on the 18 Roush blowers?
Dorian, the 18 engine changes the game quite a bit, so we've got no idea.
Nathan says, first time here with our chat, tons of info. Glad you like it. Phil, any concerns about government EPA shutting down aftermarket tuning companies?
So that's, people don't realize it, but the SEMA RPM Act is basically, was created to keep the aftermarket in business. And that's all of us, the tuning companies, the exhaust companies.
Yeah, lift kits.
Yeah, so our, industry trade group, SEMA, is definitely fighting diligently to keep the aftermarket, legally in business. I mean, there's a lot of money that's spent here. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, Brian, my friend Brian, with your 1960, whatever it is, F100 pickup with a sweet GT500 swap. I have a 07 GT500. No, you don't. You have a badass Ford truck. You have an 07 GT500 swap with a Gen 2R, Whipple monoblade, 148 JLT, 2.4 upper, 15 lower, running 85, currently has 750 rear wheel horsepower. If I move up to a Gen 3, will the stock block handle the Andes horsepower? I'm going to assume he means extra horsepower, additional horsepower, or do you recommend building the engine?
So that's a situation that's going to come up a lot.
Yeah.
And when we do we already kind of know some of this information based on all our experience with the Gen 3, but the Gen 3 makes more power at the same boost level because it's more efficient, the discharge air temps are lower, the adiabatic efficiency is much higher, so it does a better job at compressing the air. And the good thing about all that is instead of that power going to drive the blower, it goes to the wheels instead.
Okay.
So you can make more power without putting more stress on it. Are you going to be able to restrain yourself? I don't know. That right now you're at the max on the pulley combo. I suspect on something like your truck or GT500
truck
engine that you'll be up 3 to 4 pulley sizes. You'll be making the same power. So now you'll have all those pulley sizes below as an option to make more power.
I know Brian, and what Brian is going to do is Brian will put the Gen 3 on it, blow it up, because then he has an excuse to tell his wife on why he has to build the motor now.
It'll probably, yeah.
It's exactly what will happen. Guarantee you.
Carrie?
I have a few questions / comments here on YouTube. So Scott wants to know, how does the Gen 2Rs perform on an 03 Cobra with a return fuel system, all the necessary supporting mods, and on corn?
Scott, there was never an R for the 03 Cobra. There's a Gen 2 for the Cobra that has some slight mods like EGR and some bypass
I'm
direction
sorry,
stuff.
it says Gen 2, sorry.
Okay, but to answer your question, on a stock motor, on E85, the Gen 2 maxes out around 700 to 730 on the 03 Cobra.
Fergie wants to know, if we were to travel to one show that VMP is attending, which one would you suggest?
Ooh. So if you're Midwest at all, I would definitely go to Shelby Fest. If you're East Coast, Carlisle. And if you're in the South, Ponies in the Smokies. So Ponies in the Smokies is a small growing show. It's a really relaxed atmosphere. It's got beautiful scenic backdrop of the Smoky Mountains. You're going to that, Donnie.
I am going to that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why we're doing the show schedule this way this year, is we're kind of hitting all these different areas geographically.
I'm looking forward to Texas 2K the most, just because of the variety.
Slab Shack says ID 1000 or Daetschwerks, and why?
Oh gosh, they both have their place. The Daetschwerks that we like to use are the 95s, and they tune very similar to the old ID 1000s. If you're going to run E85 and you need big fuel, I would look at ID 1300s or 1700s. We're also working with FIC a little bit. They've got some really good data, so we're looking at their injectors too.
Wild Soul says, I have a full bolt-on 2012 50 manual daily. I have Ford 47-pound injectors. Is that all I need to run E85 from time to time? Currently running 93.
What's full bolt-ons?
Naturally aspirated. That's
Okay.
that's code for naturally aspirated.
I don't like that.
FBO, man.
Because I'll sit here and argue with you. I bolt on a blower.
Hey, it's all over YouTube. FBO.
Okay.
Full bolt on.
Yeah. I have an LS with full bolt-ons. It has aftermarket heads and aftermarket cam, full bolt-ons.
But yeah, those 47s will work for E85.
Alexander says, I have a 13 GT. When my tuner read my data logs, the AFR is reading 0. I've replaced the O2 sensors and checked wiring. What could cause this? Do you want to answer that, or do you want to tune in Tuesday?
I'll answer the best we can right now. Without more information, it's really hard to say. Difficult wiring issues like that, I suggest checking the Ford pinpoint tests. Within reason, they're usually right.
Yeah. Any manufacturer pinpoint tests that have you go through, you'll always get it figured out almost 99% of the time.
We have about 10 minutes left. I know.
Yeah.
It's
We
kind
got a
of
lot
blown
of
through the
stuff to
hour.
touch on.
Time's
But
flying.
I figured you might want to touch on the GT500.
Yeah, we need to talk about GT500 Gen 3 results and the story that just hit this afternoon.
So was that all the noise I was hearing outside?
Yes, it was, young Donnie.
Young Donnie. What is this, Jedi now? Young Donnie. Get the hell out of here. So that was what was waking me up through my nap. I was trying to go to sleep at like 2:30. Didn't get off till 5. Didn't have anything to do. I'm trying to sleep, and then you're making all this noise outside. What the hell were you doing?
So I wasn't actually doing anything but sitting in my office. Joe was doing all the noise making.
What was Joe doing?
This might be worth touching on. You may or may not.
Changing gears.
Okay.
Sorry.
Back to third.
It's related to the Gen 3. So there was a lot of flack that was out there regarding the dyno pool with the Gen 3 and Track Attack. And Jeremy Hinkle is wanting to know whether or not we wanted to discuss it.
We kind of touched on it earlier. There's a lot of different ways to read dyno numbers. You've got a variety of correction factors and different smoothing values that you can apply. You know, we made a decision to release it in a way that had a little bit of shock value, because regardless of plus or minus 20 horsepower, it's a huge freaking number for a stock motor, and it's a huge accomplishment. As someone that owns multiple dyno jets, there is no fudge factor beyond that. There is, however, different conditions, and it was very warm that day in Florida. When you said it was cooler out at night,
Yeah.
like what, 70 degrees?
Oh yeah, it still was enough to make our friends up north hate us.
We were joking that on a cold day, that car would make uncorrected 1050 rear wheel horsepower or so. It's just, there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. And with the dyno jet, we don't play with roller mass. You got the correction factors, you got the smoothing numbers, they're right there on the graph. You can even put the temperatures on the graph. There's a lot of ways to play with stuff if you want to talk about it, but we didn't do any of that.
All right, so noise that woke me up from my nap. What was Joe doing out there?
So, GT500 Gen 3. So at the shop, we have a customer that has a fully built
FB GT500, I like it.
Yeah, fully built GT500, 5.8 L&M engine. So that means pistons, rods, upgraded, ported cylinder heads.
It's sleeved, isn't it?
And L&M cams, yes, sleeves. So 13, 14 GT500s, you always sleeve them because they're spray bore.
Oh, okay.
And this car was the first GT500 with a Gen 3. As it said in the story, this project was conceived a little over a year ago with the intention of putting a Gen 3 on it when it was available. So it was built for it. And that's what Joe's been making all the noise with.
Okay. I remember when we got the L&M crate engine in for it. It was like Christmas. They show up and we unbox this thing, and there it is, all sitting there beautiful.
This car was making just over 900 rear wheel horsepower with a Gen 2R, and that's a pretty impressive number for a Gen 2R. It's on E85. It's a 5.8 liter, which in the GT500 realm, once you start building them, I feel like the 5.4 versus 5.8 doesn't matter a whole lot. Yeah. We slapped on a Gen 3, slapped on our throttle body, basically kept everything else the same, made 1,026 rear wheel horsepower SAE smoothing 5, the most conservative number that you could get, because we had a little something else in our back pocket.
What's that?
The giggle gas.
Ah, the giggle gas.
This car has a little plate. No, it's a spray bar.
I was going to say, it's not a plate.
In the lower intake. So these are some of the previous Gen 2R numbers. The green, it's still on the screen.
Yeah, it's on his screen. We're good.
So 935 with the Gen 2R, and then 963 with the big pulley on the Gen 3, and then 1028 with the small pulley on the Gen 3. And the way that power curve carries up there to 7,500 RPM is, that's love right there. So Chris, you want to roll what we had in our back pocket? Yes. That is a 200 shot on a spray bar, which spray bar is the lower intake manifold, has bars in it for the fuel and nitrous to flow out of into each cylinder. So you don't have to worry about cylinder to cylinder distribution problems. And that was 1271 rear wheel horsepower, 1208 rear wheel torque. Now these numbers are STD, so they're a little bit higher by about 20. Just insane. You can see the kit comes on 3,500. Oh, it's brought on progressive because the dyno roller, the tires spin on the dyno roller.
I was gonna say, we still had slight spinning issues, even the way it was set up.
Yeah, something with this much torque, you must have to roll into it so you don't like spin the tires on the roller.
Yeah.
Too bad.
I'm trying to look. I was making sure you don't have anything up. So yeah, I think there was actually a few times I was out there when it was spinning after I got woke up, of course. And yeah, it was. It sounded nasty. It was. In fact, do we have a video of that? Because I mean, to me, it was mind blowing knowing how quick it went through the pole. And it's like, we're going from what? Well, what kind of speed is that? From where you're starting the pole at around 2,000 RPMs, hitting red line. What kind of speed?
Fourth gear at 2,000 RPMs, probably about 45 miles an hour. With this car's got 373s. And you're pulling it up to about 150 or so, 160.
And it did it whenever he rolls the video in probably 4 seconds, 5. I mean, just as quick, if not quicker than Track Attack. I'm sure a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it pulled very hard.
Oh, they can't hear the car. Good.
They can't hear us over the car. No, yeah, we don't have the actual the tire smoke video, I don't think.
You watch it go, and you watch it go again when the spray comes on.
Yeah. I don't think a stock GT500 will make 1,000 with a Gen 3. If it was totally stock, I don't think it'll do it.
With stock manifolds, I feel like manifolds would probably be one of your biggest limiters.
Yeah. So, you know, the stunt we did with Track Attack, the Coyote engine in its stock form flows better than a GT500 engine.
Don't say that. You're gonna have a protest starting in the comments section. Don't you dare say a bad word about a GT500.
The GT500 engine, when built, will probably hold power longer than a Coyote.
Okay.
Coyote blocks are kind of paper thin, but that's a whole other conversation.
Sure. That'll be next week. Come back next week.
So they want to know, the fully built GT500 made similar horsepower numbers to a stock Coyote? Question mark.
Well, here's
but it will live.
and that's the thing. You're not building the motor. Throwing rods and pistons in anything doesn't increase your horsepower. We can go throw whatever the best rods, pistons you want in your NA Coyote, put it on the dyno. It's going to make the exact same horsepower. You're putting the rods and pistons in for longevity so that we can put the power to it and beat the hell out of it and still start it up tomorrow. That's why you build the motor.
Yeah.
Granted, it has cams. That's the only real advantage in the motor building that he's got going on.
And the ported heads.
Yeah, it does have ported heads, had the cams. But yeah, the aspect of the built motor, that's for longevity, not for power.
This car has been quarter-mile raced, half-mile raced, and who
Daily
knows?
Driven, gone to the store to get milk with probably.
Who knows what else?
I can't believe he drives that thing around on the street. I think it has DOT legal radials on the back, is what he drives around on. So he's legal-ish. God forbid if a state trooper tries to do an on-the-road inspection with him.
That only happens to you, Donnie.
That has happened to me.
I knew it.
Do we want to try to touch on questions? You want to hit YouTube real quick since their comments disappear, unfortunately?
Matt says, well, L&M NSR cams lower boost levels like a full exhaust does.
Yes, they will. And that's a good thing. Airflow, when boost goes down, airflow is going up. Temperatures go down. Everything's better. And you make more power.
More power. You got anything else over there, or is that it on
That's
YouTube?
it.
Because I got about a bajillion on
I know you
Facebook.
do.
These guys are
Go
crazy.
for it.
Oh, my computer's dead. So why don't you go ahead and read through some Facebook?
Yeah.
You didn't charge it?
No, it was plugged in until I came in, but unfortunately I came in at 5 o'clock to check emails and do some work stuff. Because
We probably should have plugged it in when you were here.
listen,
That
I want
would make too much
answers,
sense.
not problems.
Where did you drop off at? Do you know?
Above Brian Mockridge and his GT500, go up like 2-3 comments from there, and we'll just start there.
Let's see. Ken Ingram says, "Hey guys."
No, we already talked about him. That's our 17 Roush supercharged F150. He wants to go 85.
Let me refresh the page. In the meantime, Dr. Jellyfinger,
Dr. Jellyfinger.
which just sounds wrong,
On many levels, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out why.
says,
Really, a
what would be
Jellyfinger
better?
wouldn't
What would
beneficial.
be a better motor for my Skyline Gallo 12 or Gallo 24?
Gallo 24. Why are you even asking?
Next question.
Do you know what the movie that's from? Do you get that? You really don't get that reference?
No idea.
Fast and the Furious. Paul Walker's sitting there, and the cops come to him and they're like, "Hey, this is the guy that's going to work with you." And he's like, "Oh, you know about cars?" He's like, "Yeah." The guy's holding a pizza cup that's like Gallo Pizzeria. So then Paul Walker says to him like, "Hey man, if I'm building my Skyline, what's better, a Gallo 12 or a Gallo 24?" And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, Gallo 24." Takes a drink of his soda. That's the Gallo 12 or 24 joke.
Chad says, Gen 3 swap the world.
I agree. Move on.
Ken Ingram says, thanks, guys. Abraham says, my 14 GT500 currently putting down 732 to the wheel, 757 torque with 2.4 upper, 10% lower.
All the boost.
ARH LT and 67 millimeter throttle body. Using your 100% octane tune, is there any chance I could push it more with the higher octane tune without hurting my stock bottom?
Possibly. We'd have to look at your current tunes and just see exactly what you're looking to do and if there's anything to gain.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched on that before, GT500. Once we hit 750 rear wheel horsepower, we're getting very close to the safe limits of stock bottom end on those.
John says, what was the boost on the 1028 run?
22 pounds.
Mitchell Page says spray bars are cool.
You would know, Mitchell.
Yeah.
If you could stop wheeling, you could actually grab the kit.
JP says, I will definitely be down for dyno time when I do my Coyote Swap Fox, so you guys can do Gen 3 and tune.
Nice.
Awesome.
I don't know how you're going to make that thing hook up with its whopping 2,000 pounds it has, but hey.
There are ways.
There are ways. I've seen those Coyote Swap Foxes go nuts.
Nathan will get those Shelby Fest specials up ASAP within the next day. That's what we were talking about before. Brian says, I was wondering why I do not see a lot of NMRA events. We already discussed that. Danny says, howdy from Bradenton. Wish you guys were here.
We'll see you in a couple hours.
We'll see you soon. We're driving down there.
He'll see you in a couple hours. I'm going to bed.
Jason, you might have touched on, he says we don't have E85 here in Canada. They have 94 octane. I'm trying to see if he actually has a question.
Why are Canadians so weird? 94 octane. Why can't you just have 91 or 93 like the rest of the world?
Anthony says, what size pulley would you recommend for stage 2 Gen 2R kit on a stock 14 Coyote? There is 93 octane where I live and most of the surrounding areas, but I do road trip this car places where there may only be 91.
82 millimeter, you can run 91 octane, no problem.
Phil wants to know, any concerns about government EPA shutting down the aftermarket tuning companies?
We talked about SEMA and the RPM Act.
Yeah, that was Phil's question. We already responded to.
Okay, well, I think we're pretty well caught up then.
They're caught up, all right? You want to jump back over to
Awesome.
YouTube, and if there's nothing,
let's see, over on YouTube, Adrian says, I have an 07 GT500 with a 15% lower that can, what upper can I run on a Gen 3 on 93 octane? Are you guys going to offer longer or different supercharger belts than the ones that currently on the website?
You could run a 2.8 or a 3.0 on 93 octane, and yeah, we can get you some longer belt options.
Slabshack says no need for twin turbos or ProCharger anymore, case closed. And Michael says, what are y'all doing to Chucky?
Chucky.
Chucky.
I don't approve of the name.
So Chucky's getting some new wheels and tires, and we'll probably roast those a little bit just to make sure they
work?
Yeah.
Got to make sure they stay on the car.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and then when you start racing it, there's something called, Alex told us something called Houston stock.
Yep.
Or Hialeah stock, so we're going to test that out.
Hialeah, that's like when I'm driving to Key West and I'm trying to get somewhere nice. I get off 95 and I end up in Hialeah, and it's kind of scary for a little bit there.
I heard last night that there is a certain yellow Camaro owner that watches the Burnout Box.
Okay.
And there might be a race with him and Chucky at Orlando Speed World.
When am I doing that?
So...
Chucky's like my child. I found it one morning hungover after a couple like Christmas parties and such. I see it on Facebook. I call you. We magically go get it. Like Chucky's part of me now.
Usually those ideas, Donnie, are bad ones, but I will tell you, you stumbled upon a good one.
That was a great one.
So Chucky's going to get raced and tuned and dynoed, and a little more donuts, some fresh donuts out there in the circle.
Gotta keep the rubber fresh.
And yeah, we're going to keep it going.
Someone is asking, let's look here, when will pricing for the Coyote kits be released, if it hasn't been covered yet?
So the head units are out now as far as pricing goes, and we've been taking a few pre-orders this week. We are going to hit a limit on pre-orders, so if you want one, get your pre-order in.
And I think he's talking about kits in general.
Yes, so kits. That's what I'm getting to. Sorry, Carrie.
Sorry.
We have some ideas for kits as far as how we're going to package them, but we'd like to hear from you what you'd like to see in a full Coyote kit. Just post it in the comments here. We read those too.
Chance says, hey there from Montreal, Canada.
Hey.
Obviously, when will the 3rd gen be available for the Terminator? We've discussed that.
Yes.
June-ish.
Yeah,
we're hoping
call
for
it
June-ish.
Call it June.
Oliver says stock 17 with Whipple Gen 3 315 gears. Want to swap for gears for an 8th?
1/8 mile only. This was one of the questions we had earlier. On a 17, if you're going to start doing that, you really got to have the IRS set up correctly to handle all that extra starting line ratio. That's a whole nother setup question that we need to take offline.
Yeah.
A couple people on both channels want to know, when are we going to Tampa?
What would we go to Tampa for? Is there a racetrack over there?
There's an 1/8 mile track.
Oh. Is there any good events coming up?
We're going to Bradenton this weekend. That's south of Tampa. It's on the same coast.
Yeah, we're getting over there.
John says boost levels on a Gen 2 tuned by us on an 11 auto will run MS109, can't get E85, also L&M cams. Can I get street tune and track tune too?
So boost levels, you can run more boost on race gas, stock engine at your own risk, but the race gas buys you a lot of safety margin. Yeah, when we do like a street and a race tune, we do different tunes for different octanes, because if you have a street tune and a race tune on the same octane, all you're doing is running it that much closer to the edge, and that's not a good thing on a stock motor.
No.
John says, when can we pre-order the GT500 or actually buy the Gen 3? John, I can answer that. Pre-ordering for the GT500 will start next Wednesday. Next Wednesday we will be able to start, I believe it's the 5th, if I'm correct. I'm sorry, the 7th. It is the 7th, and we will start pre-orders then for the GT500. Nick says, what is needed fuel system-wise with a 15 GT with Gen 2R 79 pulley? He has headers and intake cams.
To upgrade it, or just to do what you're doing now?
On 93 fuel.
93
fuel, maybe it's up.
I mean, just right now, just a booster is fine.
Yeah,
if you want to run E85 or a lot of boost, a return style fuel system.
Mark says, great work, impressive numbers, keep it up.
Thank you.
Jacob says, what intercooler pump do you recommend for your 3-core heat exchanger for the Coyote?
The Bosch one works good. There's also some upgrades available at different price points. More flow helps, but I wouldn't overanalyze that situation unless you're running 20 pounds of boost, 15, 20 pounds of boost or more.
Robert says, keep up the outstanding work, gentlemen. GT500 rules.
Thank you.
Nick says, thanks for your response. Nick on the other channel says, how fast do you expect Rebecca's new car to go roughly?
Her new car is going to be really light, and we just secured a bare block for it. It's sitting up there at L&M with Michael. The class that car is being built for, competitive, is for high 460s in the 8th, which if you set the car up for the quarter mile is around 730s. Our goal is to be competitive within a season or two.
Matt says, how much is it roughly to have the L&M cams installed on my 11 GT500? I would probably recommend contact the sales department.
Yeah, I mean, we can give just a ballpark figure. You know, it's about $800 to $1,200, and if there's any other work you want to do at the same time, it can be a little bit less expensive because we actually drop the engine to do cams. It's faster that way.
Dave says, I'm a little jealous here. He says, I love you, Donnie. And Justin, too.
Don't forget Carrie.
I was first. I'm happy I was first.
And he says, you're hot and do Mustangs proud, too. So Dave says you guys were hot.
You know, that one time on the show where you like announced that I was single and whatnot, I'm starting to really regret you did that.
That was Dave Macy. He thinks you're hot. And,
I agree with you, Dave.
I think that's it for now.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you like it on Facebook. We'll keep this show going. We want more viewers.
We're doing a lot more 2650 testing coming up in the coming weeks. We're going to keep touching on it on this show, so make sure you're subscribed and all that so you get the little notification. Hey, come see attractive Donnie and Justin talk about 2650.
This is basically get everything that's in my brain out to the public about our products.
I was going to say about our products. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Everything in your brain.
There's a lot of things in there, but the ones that are related to Mustang and Ford stuff.
Okay. So, all right, guys, we'll see you next week. Or we better see you next week, damn it.
Bye-bye.